I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton. We had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal. Other women backing it up. Hey, yep. Brad Edwards, the attorney, 3 years ago, saying there will come a day when we will realize Jeffrey Epstein was the most prolific pedophile this country has ever known. And I had it all 3 years ago.
So that was footage of ABC News anchor Amy Robach caught on a hot mic venting to colleagues about how the network quashed her interview with Jeffrey Epstein victim Virginia Roberts Giuffre back in 2015. Now this footage leaked back in November of 2019. It's quite old news. Kobe, Soleimani, and the COVID bat were all still alive and flying around. But I found it so damning that it sent me on a bit of a madman's journey through ABC's online archives that are available at all of our fingertips. I ended up unearthing and piecing together some details and information that I think are valuable and worth sharing and circulating. I'm Jameson Crawford, and this is Stewards of Revolution. So there is a lot to unpack in that footage. The involvement of Alan Dershowitz, or as I call him, Weird Al Yank the Kids, is going to tie in later. But first I want to talk about Prince Andrew. This is of course the same prince who, when interviewed by the BBC, proclaimed that he could not sweat and that he did not have sex with minors, to which the public collectively responded,
"Wet ass P-word."
And what I really want to focus on is the shady relationship between ABC and the royal family.
The palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways.
From the moment of her coronation in 1953, the Queen was keenly aware of the power of the media and embraced an emerging technology.
We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story.
The Queen understood that television was an important medium and that it was a way of reaching out to people that had never happened before.
So we have a foreign monarchy intimidating American mainstream media into withholding crucial information about global sex trafficking operations. Virginia Roberts Giuffre viewed that ABC interview as an absolute game changer. As she wrote to NPR, "Appearing on ABC with its wide viewership would have been the first time for me to speak out against the government for basically looking the other way and to describe the anger and betrayal victims felt." This left me curious about Robach herself, because she clearly has some semblance of journalistic spirit and genuinely wanted the story to run, but she clearly also bent the knee. In a milquetoast response to the leak, Robach stressed that her interview didn't air because it didn't meet ABC's editorial standards. She clarified that her statements about Prince Andrew and Clinton were still merely allegations. But she didn't say anything about how the palace threatened ABC a million different ways, including restricted access to the younger royals. And it makes sense why ABC would buckle to this. Just on YouTube, they have a royal family playlist of over 250 videos, and their morning show GMA has over 175 videos, mostly on Harry and Meghan. I took it upon myself to do the grunt work and sift through all of that vapid and hollow coverage. I was curious to study Robach's demeanor in her coverage of the royals in the years since they played a part in quashing her story. I thought that if I looked closely, then maybe, just maybe, I'd be able to sense some internal conflict in her eyes.
now to our GMA cover story. It's on the Royals.
Let's talk about the Royals.
That's right. I got royal duty again today. Royal baby number 2 is almost here. It was just so joyful and fun, and people love to celebrate with the royal family.
Yeah, they sure do.
Now to the royal couple on the trip of a lifetime. Well, now to the royal road trip.
Who's ready for a royal homecoming?
More there in Windsor. Hey, Amy.
Hey, Michael. It is a glorious day here in Windsor, and there is so much excitement in the air.
Yeah, I didn't find that internal conflict. But I did find some noteworthy moments, starting with this fun exchange.
He's a good hugger. He gets great hugs.
Just when I thought I couldn't love Prince Harry more,
Yeah.
you've managed to make me fall
I do
in
think
love
the
again.
Queen is still his boss.
I think she's all of our boss. I think she's all of our boss. I think she's all of our boss.
So here we have a group of prominent so-called journalists whose job is supposed to be challenging power, all sitting around laughing and joking about the fact that they take orders from a foreign monarch.
She knew exactly how she wanted to be portrayed, at peace, surrounded by her family and her beloved corgis.
In other words, Annie Leibovitz is taking direction
From the Queen, and Annie didn't say no.
She's the boss.
Exactly.
She's the boss, just one of those royal perks.
Can you imagine? This is a 5-year-old and he's playing with his tennis idol already. Federer is an 8-time Wimbledon champion, so you might just say he's a coach fit for royalty.
Right, because I also can't imagine being the future king of England either.
Yeah,
so
we can't really
lots of
imagine.
perks,
Really
lots of
imagine.
perks,
Really
lots of
imagine.
perks that come with that. I'm
That's
sure
true.
Ariel thinks.
And sorry, real quick, but
Can you imagine? This is a 5-year-old and he's playing with his tennis idol already.
what kind of a 5-year-old has a tennis idol? Now listen to this anchor joke sarcastically about how unimportant this royal coverage is.
That's right. I did some investigative journalism for you all. And we've uncovered some new evidence that Kate and the Queen are pretty tight these days.
Excellent investigative reporting, my friend.
I'm on the case.
Thank you.
And we know that the Queen is famous for her love of tea. In fact, she says she's had 2 cups a day. So for the past 63 plus years, she's enjoyed about 46,000 cups of tea, everybody. That's a lot of tea. That's a lot of tea. That's a lot of tea. That's a lot of tea.
And instead of exposing elite paedophile rings, this is the kind of royal coverage that Robach is allowed to provide.
Hey, Amy.
Hey, Michael, that's right. It's officially the end of an era. The Fab Four, Princes William and Harry and their wives Kate and Meghan, are going their separate ways. And this morning we have new details on why and what this all really means.
I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story.
Hey, George, that's right. Yes, we understand that Meghan and Harry might be packing a weeks-long diaper bag heading to Africa with baby Sussex. That would certainly be exciting.
This is a stupid story.
The Sunday Times reporting that this trip to Africa is planned for October, and that would mean baby Sussex would be just 6 months old.
Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story.
And so we will see baby Sussex when the parents are good and ready to share their joy and excitement with the rest of the world. But in the meantime, we will all be wondering how she's doing and where she'll be having the baby, and at home, or as some speculated, in a hospital. And if it's in a hospital, which one? Well, we're all just going to have to wait and see.
This is a stupid story.
Not even Robach's own children respect the work she does.
So what do you think of Mom's job?
It's not that hard. I don't really know what you're complaining about.
What do you think, Annalise? Help me out here.
I'm going with Ava. Sorry.
No respect.
Good job, girl.
Any of you ever go to work with your parents?
Sure, yeah. I was my dad's altar boy. Sure, yeah. I was my dad's altar boy. Sure, yeah. I was my dad's altar boy.
I could have ended that clip a bit sooner. I chose not to. That was a choice. And look, I get it. This has mostly been morning news coverage, and morning news tends to be a bit more on the light-hearted side. Nobody wants to learn about pedophiles over their morning coffee before a soul-sucking day of wage slavery. But that then means that this light and airy coverage serves as the perfect vessel to normalize these corrupt elites that are part of truly evil power structures. It serves to humanize society's oppressors as if they are just like us.
It really was a rare interview, humanizing the future king in a new way. And Giovanna is saying that by doing the podcast, it made people realize Kate is just a mom like everyone else. Yep. They're just like us, guys. They're just like us.
So relatable. That's true, Amy. Good point there. Thank you.
Love that they recycled that outfit. It makes us feel like they're like us.
Yeah, exactly. Royal's just like us. There was this moment where he, for a second, looked like he was going to suck his thumb, too. See? So they really are just like us.
He was well trained, that Louis. George?
Oh, that is a headline. Ian Panel, thanks very much, Mike.
Royal families, just like us.
Because when she walked out of the hospital 7 hours after giving birth, she looked like this.
Woo! And she had some heels
They're
on.
just like us.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
To D.C., there's Prince William, called the People's Prince. They're just like us.
Yes. Did he put his bag up on top by himself?
Yeah.
Sorry, what was that?
Just like us.
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 Just like us. Just like us. Just like us.
Ah yes, they're just like us. They shed their human skin one leg at a time. This narrative conveniently matches what the royals themselves want to convey. Just ask Prince Andrew.
What is it like to be a member of the royal family, sir?
Oh, well, I can answer that very simply. And that is that it's no different to being you or anybody else. The difference is just a matter of circumstances and experience. So I've experienced things that other people would never have an opportunity of experiencing, but they're perfectly normal to me. But they're perfectly normal to me. But they're perfectly normal to me. They may be different to what you've experienced, but your version of normal is different to my version of normal.
It's just a matter of what we consider normal. For most of us, it's cracking a cold one after work or selling blood to pay rent money. And if you're a royal, it's going to your mate's paedophile island. Because those are a thing, apparently. Prince William is just like us because he flew commercial once. It's too bad Prince Andrew never flew commercial to his mate's paedophile island. Because those are a thing, apparently. There is so much evil in this world, and it is concentrated in the elite class that rules over all of us. So now let's get to the most despicable details that I was able to root out. You see, ABC refused to air Giuffre's interview, but they still did a 2-minute and 49-second segment on the Epstein case, in which Dershowitz and Prince Andrew were both implicated. They refused to incorporate Virginia's spoken side of the story, but they included statements from the royal family and an interview with Alan Dershowitz. I'll include a link to the full segment below, but watch and listen to how they decide to wrap up the piece, and then let me explain.
The prince and the professor are basically saying, prove it, and already now, Dershowitz is moving to try to get her attorneys disbarred. Already, some in her camp backpedaling from allegations that she met the Queen. Turns out, that never happened. George?
We're going to watch what happens with this story. Okay, Matt, thanks very much.
Dershowitz is moving to try to get her attorneys disbarred. Already, some in her camp backpedaling from allegations that she met the Queen. Turns out, that never happened.
So Dershowitz did accuse her lawyers of unethical conduct, and he did demand for their disbarment. It was all part of his adamant defense. But the way these statements are made, as one continuous thought, implies to the viewer that these statements about the Queen were made in a court of law. Now, I actually hadn't heard of these specific claims about the Queen, so I decided to look into it. And it turns out that the only claim of Giuffre meeting the Queen came from this comment her father made flippantly, not in a court of law, but to a British tabloid, in which he said, "Virginia told me a few years back that she met Prince Andrew when she went to London. She also said while they were there that she met the Queen." Buckingham Palace denied the meeting, and Mr. Roberts immediately retracted the claim and apologized for the misunderstanding. In pretty typical dad fashion, he either misheard or misremembered what his daughter had said to him on the phone over a decade prior. ABC chose to use the phrase, "some in her camp." The word some implies multiple people, not just her father. In her camp implies it came from her legal team, especially considering the preceding sentence. This seems to be deliberately deceptive language and phrasing to cast doubt on Roberts Giuffre.
The prince and the professor are basically saying, prove it, and already now, Dershowitz is moving to try to get her attorneys disbarred. Already, some in her camp backpedaling from allegations that she met the Queen. Turns out that never happened. George?
We're going to have to watch what happens with this story. Okay, Matt, thanks very much.
While ABC was silencing Giuffre and implying that she was lying about meeting the Queen, Dershowitz was making his rounds on the mainstream media and pushing the same narrative. He wasn't slyly implying this came directly from Giuffre, though. He outright lied about it.
She claimed to meet the Queen. Buckingham records will show that isn't true. How does a lawyer rely on the statement of a woman who is a serial perjurer, serial liar, serial prostitute? This is a serial liar who has lied about so many people. She claimed to have met the Queen. Buckingham Palace denied that. Why anyone, any responsible lawyer would believe her?
And there was one other thing I noticed about Dershowitz's media appearances back in 2015, in relation to what he is now saying more recently in response to the Robot leak. Because he is now admitting that he played a role in ABC's decision.
I actually participated in the decision. I called ABC when I heard that they were going to do an interview with Virginia Giuffre, the accuser.
In an interview with NPR, Dershowitz explained that he did not want to see her credibility enhanced by ABC. But while he was working behind the scenes to silence her, he was going on the mainstream platforms and saying this.
I've never seen her, I've never met her, and I challenge her to come on your show and to repeat her allegations on television. She's hiding behind the litigation privilege. But if she accuses me of rape formally, she goes to jail for making a false charge. I have challenged the lawyers to go under oath and repeat these charges, or to repeat them to you, so I can sue them for defamation. But they're hiding behind litigation privilege. I welcome a full investigation. I'm not trying to silence her. I've challenged her to repeat the statement to the press so that I can sue for defamation.
So not only was she denied a presence on mainstream media, but this forced absence was then used as a strike against her credibility.
I actually participated in the decision. I called ABC when I heard that they were going to do an interview with Virginia Giuffre, the accuser. I'm not trying to silence her. I've challenged her to repeat the statement to the press so that I can sue for defamation.
In the past, I have been quite awestruck at just how confidently Dershowitz makes his defense. It's almost convincing. But it makes sense why he's able to be this confident, when he knows that he has the entire system working for him and against her. Now, I don't have any pleas to make towards Alan Dershowitz, but I do have a plea to make to Amy Robach. Unbend that knee. Stand up. Because the way that ABC quashed your story on Jeffrey Epstein perfectly mirrors the way MSNBC quashed Ronan Farrow's story on Harvey Weinstein. The difference is that he chose to dissent and publish the story elsewhere, and it ignited the Me Too movement and changed the world. In fact, you interviewed Harvey Weinstein's female defense attorney, and I would like to pose you two of your own questions.
Have you been accused of being a traitor to your own gender? Do you ever worry that maybe you'll be on the wrong side of history on this one?
I understand that ABC provides you with your platform and your livelihood, but times are changing. These corporate media structures used to be the only avenue, but now with the internet and tools like Patreon, true grassroots journalism can flourish online. You could become an icon in the movement against these monsters. Because you are currently on the wrong side of this. History will define you by your complicity. You must have an abundance of valuable information to share, much more valuable than anything I can uncover in old YouTube videos. You know it's the right thing to do. As a journalist, as a mother, as a human being. So, we're going to end this now with some of your own words. Thanks everybody for watching.
When you walk into your first newsroom, you should decide ahead of time how much of your soul you're willing to sell. And it's absolutely true. There are many compromises to be made on many different levels. I've been in many an argument with a news director about how to cover a story, what stories to cover, what words I choose to describe certain situations. And I have always stuck to my guns. And there have been very tough moments, but at the end of the day, I want to look in the mirror and know that I did right by the people whose story I told. And I feel very strongly that that's something you have to decide before you walk into your first newsroom and say, I'm going to follow my heart and trust my gut.
Hey guys, remember to like, share, subscribe, and if you think this content is valuable, then please consider donating using the links below. I'm really just getting started on this channel, and the support I receive now is going to help me evaluate how much time I can justify spending away from my day job and instead producing more content. So it means a lot and will go a long way. Thanks again.